Are we good? Are we still waiting?
Oh, I thought I pressed the button on. Not bad.
Oh. Right, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Good evening, everybody. Today is June 28, 2023. This is the Porte Redevelopment Commission. I'm calling the meeting to order. Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? By the way, the time is 5:19 p.m. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call. I myself, Brian Chalik, is present. J.T. McDermott is present. Janet Francisconi is present. Betsy Parkinson's present. The only one absent is Damon Gassaway. Public comment. Do we have any public comment? We'll open public comment at 5:19 and probably close it at 5:19 since there's no one here. It is closed. Minutes. Everybody have time to look at the minutes from the May 31st, 2023 regular meeting?
Yep.
Any corrections, additions, deletions?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the May 31st, 2023 regular meeting.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor state by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Claims. Everybody look at the claims docket.
Just a note, there were 3 claims added that weren't part of your packet because they're all one vendor, but 3 additional claims from Hitchcock Design for the streetscape design guidelines that got misfiled, and so we're paying in 3 additional claims. They're on your docket, the revised docket in your packets. They're not what I sent you in your email because we just found out about this today, so you have it in front of you now,
And we owe them.
and we owe them.
Right.
It's all within our contract.
Any questions, other questions about the claims?
Those are the ones from February, March, and April.
Correct.
Yes.
No, I'll make a motion to approve the June 28th, 2023 claim docket.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Old business. We have none. Skip right over that. Go to the new business. Public hearing on the lease and adoption of a resolution approving a form of lease, finding that the lease rentals pursuant to the lease are fair and reasonable, and approving the pledge regarding the acquisition and equipping of a fire truck and the acquisition, construction, installation, and equipping of a fire training facility and related facilities. I think I'll ask Andy Mauser from Baker Tilly to do a short little dissertation about what we're talking about here.
Sure, thank you.
Oh, wait a minute. I'd like to open this as a public comment or public meeting, public hearing, and the time is 5:22 p.m. Go ahead, Andy.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Andy Mauser with Baker Tilly. We serve as financial advisor to the city and to the Redevelopment Commission. Here this evening is really the third step. The Redevelopment Authority met just here a bit earlier and took what was the second step in a 4-step process. So I know you had met at your last meeting and approved a reimbursement resolution related to this project. This would be your final approval, and then the city council will meet one more time for final approval on this financing. So you do have one resolution here this evening, and then the public hearing related to the lease and the resolution. So really what this is really more of a city financing that's being done through a redevelopment authority, redevelopment commission structure, much like we've done in the past, for those of you that have been on the redevelopment commission in the past. And this is a financing for a new fire truck and fire training facility. These bonds, even though it's being run through a redevelopment authority and redevelopment commission structure, it will be fully repaid from city revenues, and specifically the public safety local income tax that was put in place that the city now collects a portion of, and that is a countywide local income tax. So I did pass out some numbers, and I'm happy to maybe just go through those very briefly, and then can give you just a quick overview on your resolution here this evening. Taking a look at the numbers on page 2 of this report, really the reason we're utilizing this redevelopment authority, redevelopment commission lease structure is just due to debt limit. In Indiana, municipalities can only issue debt up to 2% of 1/3 of their assessed value. So City of Porte, about an $825 million tax base, obviously a fairly large size city. But with those calculations, you're only able to issue about $5.5 million of traditional general obligation debt, and local income tax debt would fall under that. The city has some other obligations that count against that $5.5 million, so it only leaves about $1.8 million for additional financings. Here, the city's looking at about a $1.7 million for a new fire truck, and then about $500,000 for a training facility. So obviously, we would push up over that debt limit. And so redevelopment authority structures, building corporation structures are very common for municipalities, and the cities used redevelopment authority, redevelopment commission structure in the past. But essentially what will happen here is it'll be, bonds will be issued, proceeds from the bonds will be used by the redevelopment authority to acquire roads and streets from the city. Funds from that acquisition that go from the redevelopment authority to the city will be used for the construction of the purchase of the fire truck and construction of the training facility. And then once the redevelopment authority has those roads and streets, then that allows them to lease those roads and streets to the commission, which allows you to make payments to the redevelopment authority that'll then be used to make payments on the bonds. And in turn, when the city council meets here in a couple of weeks, they will pledge a portion of those public safety local income tax dollars back to you as the redevelopment commission to make payments on the bonds. So I think it's important to note, unlike a lot of your previous financings that have actually been paid from TIF or other redevelopment commission revenues, these will not be repaid from any redevelopment commission revenues. You're really just kind of a part of the financing process. And again, any repayment from the bonds will come from the public safety local income tax from the city. So just kind of quickly show you, there's a couple of kind of numbers within your resolution. It mentions a maximum size of the financing of $2.75 million, and then a maximum lease payment of $380,000. Just to kind of show you in the numbers on page 3, again with about a $2.2 million project, factoring in financing costs, we currently anticipate that the total financing size will be about 2.3 to 2.4 million. So certainly under that 2.75, but just to allow for a bit of cushion until the cost of the truck and the training facility is finalized. But we hope that the actual financing will come in well below that 2.75 million. And then just quickly on pages 4 and 6, we've shown a couple of repayment options. We've shown a shorter, about 7.5 year repayment on page 4. You can see with the shorter structure, it helps minimize total interest on the financing, but then results in a higher annual payment just because it is compressed down into that 7-year period. But that would keep the total payment at about $360,000, so under that maximum that you would approve of $380,000. And that $380,000 is really, in working with the clerk treasurer's office, that's the amount really that they've budgeted for projects such as this from the public safety local income tax. Page 6 looks at another option, and that's something we're still working through, with the city on the final term of the financing. But if we were to stretch the financing out to a 15-year repayment, has a bit of additional interest cost, obviously, with stretching it out further. But then as we're able to stretch those payments out over a longer period of time, rather than being around $360,000 per year, it would bring that payment down to about $211,000. We anticipate that the final financing will be probably somewhere between that 8 and 15-year structure, and that's something that we'll kind of work through and finalize here over the next couple of months. So I think your resolution, as I mentioned, works through the lease, the approval of the lease, and then the lease rental payments, again, not to exceed $380,000. And then, obviously important for the Redevelopment Commission, paragraph 2 mentions that, again, all repayment will come from those public safety local income tax dollars that will be pledged by the city council at their next meeting. Be happy to answer any questions on the resolution or the numbers or anything else related to the process.
Any questions for Andy? Go get that in a little scope there.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Cook, would you come out and explain to us what your feeling or thoughts are here?
Absolutely. Good evening to the Redevelopment Commission. Bert Cook, Executive Director of the LaPorte Economic Advancement Partnership. So I'll read this resolution into the record for you. Resolution of the City of LaPorte Redevelopment Commission authorizing the execution of a lease between the City of LaPorte Redevelopment Authority and the City of LaPorte Redevelopment Commission and related matters. Whereas the City of LaPorte Redevelopment Authority has been created pursuant to Indiana Code 36-7-14.5 as a separate body, corporate and politic, and as an instrumentality of the City of LaPorte, Indiana, to finance local public improvements for lease to the City of LaPorte Redevelopment Commission. And whereas the authority on June 28, 2023, adopted a resolution indicating its intent to issue its lease rental revenue bonds in one or more series in an amount not to exceed $2,750,000 for purposes of financing the purchase by the authority from the city of certain roads and streets in the city as set forth in Exhibit A, with the sale proceeds to be applied by the city to the costs of acquisition and equipping of a fire truck and acquisition, construction, installation, and equipping of a fire training facility and related facilities in or serving the city, and approving a proposed lease between the authority and the commission for the lease of the project and interests in the land on which it is located. And whereas on June 28, 2023, the commission held a public hearing regarding the lease following publication of notice of such public hearing on the lease, and all interested parties were provided the opportunity to be heard at the hearing. And whereas the commission intends to pay rent to the authority pursuant to the terms of the lease at a rate not to exceed $380,000 per year in semi-annual installments through the expiration of the lease. And whereas the commission will pay the rental payments from a pledge of the expenditure rate, public safety revenues, public safety component of the city's local income tax revenues, pledged to the commission by the city for such purpose. And whereas the commission desires to execute the lease and authorize the publication in accordance with Indiana Code 36-7-14-25.2 of a notice of execution and approval of lease. Now therefore be it resolved by the City of LaPorte Redevelopment Commission as follows. 1. The commission hereby finds and determines that the terms of the lease are based upon the value of the leased premises that the rental payments to be paid by the commission pursuant to the terms of the lease at a rate not to exceed $380,000 per year in semi-annual installments beginning on the date the commission makes its first rental payment through the expiration of the lease are fair and reasonable, and that the use of the leased premises throughout the term of the lease will serve the public purpose of the city and is in the best interests of its residents. The commission shall pay rentals under the lease from pledged lit revenues pledged by the city to the commission for such purpose. The commission may also pay rentals under the lease or any other amounts due under the lease from other legally available revenues available to the commission, provided, however, the commission shall be under no obligation to pay rentals under the lease or any other amounts due under the lease from any monies or properties of the commission except the pledged lit revenues pledged by the city to the commission for such purpose. 3, the president or vice president and the secretary of the commission are hereby authorized and directed on behalf of the commission to execute and deliver the lease in substantially the form presented at this meeting with such changes in form or substance as the president or vice president of this commission shall approve, such approval to be conclusively evidenced by the execution thereof, provided that the rental payments shall not exceed the amounts set forth in paragraph 1 hereof. 4, the commission hereby authorizes the publication in accordance with Indiana Code 36-7-14-25.2 of the notice of execution and approval of lease. 5, the president, vice president, and secretary of this commission, and each of them is hereby authorized and directed to take all such further actions and to execute all such instruments as are desirable to carry out the transactions contemplated by this resolution, in such forms as the president, vice president, or secretary executing the same shall deem proper, such desirability to be conclusively evidenced by the execution thereof. 6, this resolution shall be in full force and effect after the adoption by the commission.
Thank you, Bert. Any questions? This is an open public hearing. Any comments from the public? Nobody here, so I'll close the public comment. Now I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution of the City of LaPorte Redevelopment Commission authorizing the execution of a lease between the City of LaPorte Redevelopment Authority and the City of LaPorte Redevelopment Commission and related matters.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. We good? Good? Public meeting was closed, yes. Correct? I closed it in the middle there. Okay, B, engagement letter for Barnes and Thornburg for bond financing services. Let's see what we got here. I got it right here. Gave me so many papers, I don't know which stack to look at. Does everybody have a chance to look at this?
Yep.
Kind of cut and dried. We need them.
I'll make a motion to approve the engagement letter for Barnes and Thornburg for bond financing services.
Here, a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Approval of a change order for ground watering monitoring systems for Newport Landing, Jacob and Hefner. Everybody have a chance to look at that.
What happened that necessitated the change order?
I don't know. Nick's here, not here. Oh. Also included the estimated budget or additional charges from 2021 sampling events as one additional event was completed at the request of IDEM beyond the original proposal. There you
For
go.
$1,805.
Yeah, for $1,805, so it's IDEM's problem.
So on the cover letter, it's additional testing required by IDEM that was not anticipated of one additional testing at a cost of $1,805.
Yeah, the great IDEM stuck it to us. Any other questions?
Make a motion for the approval of a change order for groundwater monitoring services for Newport Landing, Jacob and Hefner.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. That takes care of that. Other business, I don't think we have any other business.
We have one item.
Oh, we do have one other item. I forgot. That was the last one. Mr. Cook,
Thank you, Brian.
thank you.
So happy to be able to present to you, and I appreciate the Redevelopment Commission's attention to this. Since your last meeting, Attorney Hagenow and I have been working with Rossman Partners to get this purchase agreement in its final form, and we were able to do that here just recently. So happy to be able to present that to you. So we're talking about the 12.5 acres that is owned by the Redevelopment Commission along Boyd Boulevard. About a year ago, maybe a little less, we agreed to sell the other half of the property, the other 12.5 acre parcel, to James Schaffner General Contractors, and they're intending to build an industrial facility there. Both properties are zoned M1 light industrial, and so we still had a remaining parcel. So this purchase agreement is from a group called Rossman Partners. They would intend to build a small industrial park with multiple smaller industrial buildings in the neighborhood of 8,000-ish square feet, which I'm very favorable on that particular application because we don't have much of that right now. We have almost nothing available in our community, and very little that's been built in that size in the last few years. So they would develop the parcel in that way, and they'd have flexibility to increase or shift the sizes of the buildings as that particular demand would exist. So the agreement itself, you've seen this, if you've reviewed it, you've seen this doc, something very similar to this before, because it's very similar to the agreement that we had with Schaffner. A few different things that I wanted to mention or call your attention to as you consider this. So we do have the buyback provision, which I know was very important to you all and the Redevelopment Commission as a whole. In the event that the developer does not move forward with construction in a timely manner, you have the ability to repurchase the property for 75% of the price that they pay, which I think is a very good and important component of this. We do have, on the second page, we do have some language, and they requested that in the event that they were to sell the property, so if we guess contemplate a scenario where someone else comes in and says, well, I'd like to buy this and put 150,000 square foot building up, and they were to sell it all as one, that these terms wouldn't necessarily carry over to the new owner. They likely would not be able to meet these timelines if it occurred later in the process. And so we've given them the ability to do that as long as you, as the Redevelopment Commission, approve that sale. So we still have that control, and I would envision that if that scenario were to take place, we would come to you, and the strength of the potential buyer, the new potential buyer, and the likelihood of them being able to build and meet certain timelines would be things that you all would consider when deciding whether or not to give that approval Likewise, later in the agreement, on the assignment clause, you all have the ability to approve that, so, that consent, that aligns, those two pieces align. And then the only other thing that I noted that I wanted to mention, there is a commission to be paid. The redevelopment commission would pay 3% commission to the agent, broker agent that brought this deal to us. So it's $11,250. She's been great to work with, and she's done a ton of work to get us to this point. So I think that's a very reasonable request. And as if you review the purchase price, this group would be paying $30,000 per acre, $375,000, which I think will be nice to get the property into private hands, to see the development occur, and to take down a fair price for the land as well. Happy to answer questions that you have. I guess we'll start there.
How fast are they ready to move? I mean, develop, or are they?
They're eager to move forward, and that's part of the reason we're presenting this to you tonight. Is obviously the redevelopment commission only meets every 30 days, so they want to get started right away. They've inquired with me about getting the property listed on some of the state websites and things, so they can really process that interest as quick as possible. Much like the other property, I know they're hopeful that they'll be able to find either a purchaser, more likely a tenant, even pre-construction. So I think they're very eager, and there's still an outside chance that this construction season they could at least get started, especially with some of the earthwork.
Further questions, any? Might get started before Schaffner. huh?
Again, this was for $375,000, right?
Correct.
Correct. Yep.
Might get started before Schaffner does.
Well, I think it's great to have two properties being developed right next to each other, right? I mean, that's
Competition.
yeah, absolutely. And they're very, that's another thing that actually you bring up an important point. They're not, to have two properties next door to each other, both being the same thing being built, really sets the stage for a lot of kind of inner competition there. Competition is good, but I'm not sure right next door is the way. By offering a different product, I think they work more hand in hand as opposed to competing with each other. Because on the Schaffner property, I think their ideal situation is to build one building for a larger user somewhere in the neighborhood of 100,000 square feet.
Right.
What size did you say these buildings were?
So
8,000?
there's flexibility there, but what you see on paper are about 8,000 square foot buildings. And we do see a lot of that interest, and we have very little to respond with, so.
Yeah, there's nothing else around besides that.
I like that.
I'll make a motion to approve the lease agreement between the City of LaPorte Redevelopment Authority, Lesser, and City of LaPorte Redevelopment Commission. Bless you. Is this wrong one?
No, this one isn't on the
This
agenda.
is the purchase and sale
Yeah.
agreement.
Doesn't
You're
matter.
right.
Scratch that.
Noted scratched.
JT, if I were verbalizing it, I think it would be a motion to authorize the redevelopment commission president to sign the purchase and sale agreement with Rossman Partners.
I will make a motion for the president of the redevelopment commission to approve the purchase and sale agreement with Rossman Partners LLC.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? Now let's run on the right topic. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Thank you, Bert.
Thank you, and if I can stay
Sure,
here for one more
absolutely.
thing. I just want to, as a matter of update, the redevelopment commission asked Craig and Nick and I to look at a property along McClung Road and East Shore Parkway, and to engage, or at least have discussion with Ice Miller about the potential for looking for cleanup funds that might exist for that. We have done that, but just since there's so much going on right now, we're going to hold that until next month. But I'll be happy to present that to you all for your next meeting and your consideration then.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bert.
Okay. Number 10, adjourn
make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a
Second.
I have a motion to adjourn in a second. Any further discussion? None? All in favor state by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.